Let's talk about what happened over the weekend, and we'll start with the Aztecs, and they got walloped at Washington State. San Diego State got beat at their own game. Speed kills. Washington State just ignited their jets, and they did things offensively that they had not done in the first game against Idaho, and they torched the Aztecs. And the Aztecs did some things that have now become commonplace. Long droughts with the offense where they couldn't move the ball. All of a sudden, chunk plays against their defense, and the whole thing caved in as San Diego State wound up losing. They gave up 400-plus yards to Washington State. Cougars scored 29 points in a row after the Aztecs had taken an early lead. Cougar defense had 3 sacks, 7 tackles for losses. Jaden Denegal just really staggered. End of the day, we need patience with young quarterback. That's the only explanation. The only way he's going to get better is he's got to take all these reps, go through the fires of hell at quarterback, and learn from it. So he's got this year, he's got next year. You see a little bit of flashes, but then you see an awful lot of inertia too. He just really struggled. John, they had 6 possessions in a row. They had 1 first down.
Yeah.
In the 6 possessions, they ran only 20 plays, and they had only 35 total yards in 6 possessions. They got to get better. They got to get more consistent. He has to be better in terms of making the right decisions along the way. He had a 3rd down opportunity where he could have run the football and gotten the first down, kept the chains moving. Instead, he stayed in the pocket and threw a football into coverage. Boom. 4th down, lose it. Washington State goes down and scores. He also took a safety in his own end zone. That was a blown blocking assignment, but it was on the kid. Don't take the sack in the end zone. Throw the ball away. Learning curve. I asked Sean Lewis today at his Monday press briefing to describe where he is emotionally. He says, we are a good team. We had a bad night. And he used the exact same word I did as it relates to Jaden Denegal. Patience. This is the guy that they've tied their future to, and they're just going to work on it. But obviously, they got to get better offensively, and they got to quit giving up chunk plays defensively. Because the Washington State loss looked like the last 6 games of last season when the defense totally caved in. Now, they got a bye week. Strange time to have a bye week, but they have a bye week. They're off for 14 days before they play the Cal Golden Bears. His closing comment as he got up to leave the press conference today, I believe. That's what the coach had to say. You're an Aztec fan, friend, and alum. Feel free to respond. Fans Forum chat box is open. USC. Did you know they moved to number 1 in the rankings? Were you aware of that? Number 1 in 1AA football.
Oh, okay. All right.
They are still not ranked inside the top 25 despite being 2-0 after 2 dominant wins because they played 1AA teams.
Cupcakes.
They blitzed Georgia Southern 59-20 at the Coliseum. Jaden Miava, the quarterback, throws for 412 and 4 touchdowns. Hit bombs of 62 and 74 yards in that win. JUCO transfer running back Wyman Jordan, 167 yards rushing. For the 2nd week in a row, Troy had over 700 yards in offense. They wound up with 755. Just kept the starters in, just piled it on. So the 1AA poll isn't out, but USC should be number 1 in the country because they beat Missouri State and they beat Georgia Southern 1AA teams. Now, Lincoln Riley is a firm belief this is a much better roster. We'll find out because they go to Purdue, get on the plane, and they play their first Big Ten game. UCLA looks totally lost. Send out a search party. They're playing no defense at all. UCLA got whacked by UNLV of the Mountain West Conference. When in the history of college football did you think that was ever possible? At one point in the 2nd quarter on Saturday, the Rebels led the Bruins 23-0. Now, UCLA tried to come back. They had 429 yards in the offense in the loss. Too little, too late. The defense is a disgrace. This coming on the heels of them getting drilled by 33 at home. I have not met a UCLA alum that believes Deshaun Foster should be the head coach. But at this point, got this multi-year contract. We'll see. UCLA plays another non-conference cupcake. They get New Mexico this weekend, and then they go on the road, UCLA does, and starts to play on the road in the Big Ten. So, John, you want to comment? Aztecs, 1AA, Polster, USC, and UCLA.
Well, the Aztec game, I watched that, and they had a 7-0 lead, and Denegal hit that touchdown pass to Bostic. And I'm thinking, okay, this Bostic kid's looking pretty good. Yep. And nice to see a throw downfield for a touchdown. I didn't see a lot of those last year, and I'm feeling some hope. Okay. And then this game is progressing, and yeah, Washington State comes back, and because I knew this would be a competitive game. I figured it was a 50-50 game. And then the Aztecs were only down by 3. And then they took the safety, and then they had to punt it to give possession back, and then they marched back down like a 9-point swing. Yeah. And going into halftime, the momentum was screwed. I mean, that was a winnable game, and I don't understand why it didn't work. I mean, you were mentioning before, I think maybe when we were doing the recording of the commentaries, but social media was going bananas. Aztec for Life fan on X they were just furious and angry, and frankly, they were out for blood. I don't know.
I've never seen that type of criticism against any coach at San Diego State like I've seen in the last 48 hours since Saturday night. Aztec for Life. There can't be that many of them because they don't come to games. So what right do they have to call for the head of this head coach?
I know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were some questionable calls, some of these, going forward on 4th down, in some cases 4th and a little bit too long. But I'm thinking, okay, he's kind of aggressive. He's kind of gambler, swashbuckling, Sean Lewis. I'm like, okay. But every one of those reaches ended up biting him in the butt,
Well, he answered that question specifically today. And he said, if I'm sitting here at 4th and 5 in a game that's kind of lopsided, and I decided to punt it away. He says, that's going against the grain of who I am and what we stand for, which is ultra aggressive. We're going to go for it. Go for it. Now, they're not getting it done right now, but that reverts back to kid quarterback.
Okay.
So that reverts back to I'm pulling out of my pocket the word patience. Let's just give Jaden Denegal a chunk of time. Aztec fan, feel free to respond to that. You have any critique of the scheduling at USC?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's why I have to ask you, who did they play again? Because I don't keep track of the 1AA guys. You try to think about what are the identities of these. I mean, we're sort of kind of figuring out the identity of San Diego State, or at least what they want to be, which is Aztec fast. What is Lincoln Riley and Deshaun Foster? What are they statements for their identities?
Well, Lincoln Riley is, we got all these athletes and we're going to get them ready to go play in the Big Ten and watch what we're going to do. At least he has on his resume what he did at Oklahoma, what he did with Caleb Williams that first year before everybody got hurt, and it was the quarterback against the world. Last year was a bit of a disaster. So, and the identity at UCLA is there's nothing that makes sense to me at all. Deshaun Foster looks absolutely in over his head as a head coach. His roster is deplorable on defense, and poor Bruins fan. And there's nobody going to the Rose Bowl. There was a sidebar story. The LA Times over the weekend did this investigative piece about them announcing how many are going to the games. And they announced 37 and there were 25. And they had games at the end of last year where they announced 25 and there were 12. 12,000 in the 77,000 seat Rose Bowl.
It's fraud.
Yeah, the credibility of all things around the UCLA program is just suffering.
UCLA is such a distinguished academic institution.
Sure.
So why in the hell is this the athletics department operating and doing business this way?
I think the athletic director needs to be held accountable too, in addition to Deshaun Foster. This looks terrible to me. So, Aztec fans, friends, and alum, Aztec for life. You're kidding me with that one. Join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. Give us a response. You're a Trojan, you're a Bruins fan. Feel free. A couple other topics on the table.